Okay, so let's take a look at the graphing feature. Again, you saw a little bit of this in, I think it was 1.1 or 2.1 last week. But, here's my spin on that. The first thing that is challenging about our calculator is the fact that it needs what we call function notation. We have to solve for y. So when you're encountering something that's not in terms of y, you're going to have to do a little bit of algebra to solve for y. So, for example, in this case, where you have a linear equation, if I subtract x from both sides, we get negative x plus 20. Or if you want, that's 20 minus x. Either one's fine. So now that I have it written in terms of y, it's ready for the calculator. This one's already in terms of y, so it's ready for the calculator. And this one is set in terms of y, so it's ready for the calculator. The next challenge about this is the actual viewing rectangle itself. Now, let me go ahead and get you set up here. The standard viewing rectangle is from negative 10 to positive 10 along the x-axis and negative 10 and positive 10 along the y-axis. Your calculator, oops, let me get that up there. Your calculator, unless somebody's already messed around with a window, is already in that mode. So how about we go check this out. So when I go to my calculator, let me first turn it on. And when I go to the, let's just go graph. So if I want to graph something, I'll press the graph key. Nothing's entered in my calculator, but what you're looking at, right? Actually, it looks like somebody's already done some stuff here. So how about I do this? Let me go to Window. Right, yeah, and you can see automatically, right, that the minimum value for the x-min is negative 7 and the x-max is positive 7. X-scale, that's telling us how we're scaling it, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then y-min is negative 7 and y-max. So let me go back to the graph feature. So again, I think I was already messing with this, but you'll notice we're from negative 7 to 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, and the same thing along the y-axis. So that explains, let me press Window again here, what your minimum x value is, what your maximum value is, what your scale is, right, how we've scaled that for that. Resolution is just how dark the graph's going to be, and you can play around with that later. So, a couple of ways to change our window. We can either leave it the way it is, or I can manually do it. So let's go from negative 10, I'll show you another way in a moment, enter, to 10, enter. We're going to leave the scale alone, negative 10, enter, and 10, press enter. Alright, so that's how we can manually change my window so that it's in the standard viewing rectangle. Of course, that also is limiting because we're only looking at that segment of the XY plane. We actually know there's a whole bunch of stuff beyond 10 and beyond 10. So there's much more out here, and we'll see what happens when we run into those difficulties. So let's go back to, so my window's set. So when I'm ready to enter a function into my calculator, we're going to go to y equals key, right? So that's why we solve for y. You have a lot of options here. First thing, make sure that none of the plot features are on. And right now mine are off because they're not highlighted. So right now we're good. And the calculator is just waiting for me to enter what y is equal to. So we're going to enter negative x plus 20. Remember, that negative is down here in the bottom, right? So we want negative, come back, x, right? To find your x's, what you're going to do is there's a key that has a whole bunch of variables. So depending on what mode my calculator is, right, this key is either x, t, theta, or n. We're in college algebra, it should be in function mode, so when I press this button, what I should get, and I did get, is an x. So what we want to do is graph negative x plus 20, right? I'll press enter, and so now the calculator, right, has this function in its memory banks. Now, we're going to press graph and get the actual graph, and what you have to remember is what it meant to graph in the first place, right? What usually happens by hand is we start putting some x values in here and cranking out y values, right? So when x is 0, this is 20. When x is 1, this is 19. When x is 20, this is 18. So we can already generate some solution points. The calculator is doing the same exact thing, but because it's a machine, it does it much faster. So when I press graph, right, what the calculator does, and you can probably see a little like a little ribbon up here going, a little stream, and this is what I get as my graph, right? And we're thinking, oh my God, you know, I've spent all this money on a graphing calculator and it can't even graph a line. It's there. It's just what I call a phantom function. That's what I kind of playfully call this. This window, again, is only from -10 to 10 and -10 to 10. So the graph, right, is somewhere. It's just not in the window that I'm looking at. So right, this is where our point plotting skills are going to come into play. I've already done it. So it looks like one of my outputs is already at 20. So this output of 10, right, is too low. So let's go to our window. I think our X max and X min are okay. Even our Y min is fine, but our Y max needs to be bigger than 10. So how about I make it, I'm going to go all the way out to 30. And because I have so many tick marks, I have 40 tick marks, how about we change our Y scale? Why don't we just change that to 5? All right, and so what we're going to see, right, in a moment is we're going to see this line in the window, -10 to 10 along the x-axis with a scale of 1, -10 to 30 on the y-axis with a scale of 5. So when you press the graph feature, boom, there's the line that we're expecting. It's a decreasing line from -10 to 10 along the x-axis with tick marks of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and from -10 to 30 along the y-axis, 5, 10, 15, 20. And you can see that the y-intercept's occurring right where it should be at 0, 20. So that is how some of the point plotting can help us with the tool, right? If we're not seeing the function initially when I enter it in there, right, we might want to check our window. Do I have the window opened up in an area where I can actually observe the function? So point plotting combined with the technology, right, really helping us out. So again, as I told you, these things are only as useful as the person who's using it. So I had to use some algebra and some ideas, the concept of solution points, to actually see the graph. I'm already 7 minutes into this, and I've got a couple more nuances to talk about with regard to the next two. Right, we got a couple of parabolas here, but I'm going to cut away, and we'll start fresh. But there's your initial. Our lesson here was our viewing rectangle, what it is, how to manipulate it, how to change it. And so I'll see you guys in the next video.